Across the African savanna, this Cape buffalo is enduring an assault. Hundreds of blood-sucking ticks cling to its ears. They gather at the base of its horns. They dig into its neck, its shoulders, every deep fold of skin along its flanks. Flies swarm its eyes and nostrils without pause, landing, lifting, landing again, never giving the animal a single moment of stillness. It has tried everything, shaking its head, flicking its ears, rubbing its neck raw against a tree trunk until the bark strips away, rolling in the dust until its coat turns pale with dirt, standing motionless in the shade, hoping the flies will simply move on. Nothing works. The ticks hold on. The flies return, again and again, drawn by the same heat, the same scent, the same open skin. Around the buffalo, the rest of the herd shows the same signs. Tails snapping, heads dipping low, then jerking upward, ears folding flat against skulls in irritation. This is not one animal's problem. It is the daily tax every buffalo on this savanna pays, simply for being large, warm-blooded, and slow to escape what feeds on it. So the buffalo turns toward the river. Its hooves sink into soft mud at the water's edge. One step, then another. The water climbs past its ankles, past its knees, past its belly. The mud gives way to a firmer riverbed beneath its hooves, and for the first time all morning, it feels the sting of the flies begin to fade. Beneath the surface, something is already gathering. Small fish appear first. Just a few. Curious, drawn by the disturbance in the water, the faint cloud of mud kicked up by heavy hooves. Then more arrive. Then more still, moving in from deeper water, converging on the buffalo's submerged body from every direction. Within minutes, a dense school surrounds every inch of hide below the waterline. This is the river's own cleaning crew, and its work has just begun. From the belly to the groin, the thighs to the knees, down to the hard edges of the hooves, almost nothing beneath the surface is left untouched. Hundreds of small mouths press against thick hide, searching, testing, pulling. As soon as one fish drifts away from a spot, another slides in immediately to take its place. No gap, no pause, no wasted space in the current. Together they move like a living carpet across the buffalo's lower body, rippling with every twitch of muscle beneath the surface. Where the ticks are thickest, deep in the groin, tucked along the inner thigh, pressed into the soft skin behind the knee, several fish crowd into the same narrow fold at once, pecking, tugging, working the parasite loose one small bite at a time, patient in a way the buffalo itself could never manage alone. The buffalo shifts its weight. A ripple spreads through the water, and the entire school adjusts in an instant, flowing around the new angle of its body like a single living organism rather than hundreds of separate fish. Above the waterline, help arrives from the sky. Red-billed Oxpeckers glide low over the river, landing on the buffalo's horns, its shoulders, the ridge of its back. They do not linger in the easy places. Within seconds, they move toward the worst of it, the ears, the horn base, the folds behind the jaw where the skin is thin and the blood runs close to the surface. Their slender bills probe deep into the ear canals. They part the short hair at the base of each horn, strand by strand. They work the wrinkles of the neck, one crease at a time, never rushing, never missing a fold. One quick peck, another tick disappears. The birds do not pause to admire the work. The moment one parasite is swallowed, they step sideways, tilt their heads, and begin again. A second bird lands nearby, choosing the opposite ear, so that both sides of the buffalo's head are worked at once. Between them, no hiding place remains for long. Below the surface, the fish keep the same unhurried rhythm. They cannot rest. They cannot slow down. They cannot let a single fold go unchecked. Every patch of hide gets a second look, and sometimes a third, because a missed tick today only means a larger, hungrier one tomorrow. Above the water, the birds clean what the fish cannot reach. Below the water, the fish clean what the birds cannot see. Two completely different species, from two completely different worlds, working the same animal at the same moment toward the same result. Studies of this behavior have shown fish like these can strip dozens of parasites from a single host in one visit alone. But out here, in the shallows of the savanna, that number means nothing to the buffalo. All it feels is the weight lifting, one bite at a time. Minutes pass, then more. The sun climbs higher, and the river settles into its own quiet rhythm. The ticks along the neck and shoulders thin out. The head shaking slows, then stops. The ears, snapping back and forth all morning, finally go still. The buffalo stands chest deep in the current, eyes half closed, breathing slowly. Even the flies circling above barely register anymore. Other buffalo begin to notice. One by one, more animals drift down from the tree line toward the water. A second buffalo steps in beside the first, then a third. The fish do not need to be summoned twice. The school splits, spreads, and reforms around each new body entering the river, as if the water itself were built for exactly this purpose. Nearby, white egrets pick their way along the shallows, snatching insects stirred up by the buffalo's movements. Kingfishers dive and rise again in the background. The river, for these few hours, becomes a shared workspace. One giant animal after another stepping into the current, one school of fish and one flock of birds cycling between them, never idle, never finished. By early afternoon, the pattern has repeated itself across half a dozen buffalo. Each one arrives carrying its own burden of ticks and flies. Each one leaves lighter, calmer, its skin finally its own again. The oxpeckers move between them, choosing whichever animal shows the heaviest infestation, landing, working, then lifting off toward the next body waiting in line. But this arrangement is not purely gentle. The fish are not here out of kindness, and the birds are not here to protect. Both are feeding. Both benefit whether the buffalo is comfortable or not. If a wound is open, a fish may linger there longer than the buffalo would like. If an oxpecker finds broken skin, it may return to that same spot again and again, drawn less by the parasite than by the raw tissue beneath it. Nature rarely offers help without also taking something in return. Even so, for the buffalo standing in the current, the exchange still tips in its favor. A few uncomfortable pecks are nothing compared to the slow, draining weight of hundreds of ticks left to feed unchecked for days. The choice, if it can even be called a choice, is not between comfort and discomfort. It is between one kind of cost and a much larger one. As the afternoon wears on, the herd begins to thin. One buffalo after another turns back toward the tree line, ticks reduced, flies momentarily forgotten, ready to graze again until the itching builds, and the whole cycle starts over. The fish sink back into deeper water, waiting for the next disturbance at the river's edge. The oxpeckers scatter into the branches nearby, preening, resting, watching for the next set of horns to appear at the waterline. For the fish, this is a meal delivered without effort, in a place they already call home. For the oxpeckers, it is a familiar routine, one more body to work across before the sun moves on. For the buffalo, submerged to its belly in the cool current, it is something closer to relief. The weight of hundreds of parasites lifted, piece by piece, bite by bite, until its own skin finally belongs to it again. It is not friendship, but it works. In nature, survival is rarely built on conflict alone. Sometimes it depends on a body willing to stand still and two very different species willing to do the work. And here, in the shallow rivers of the African savanna, that quiet exchange repeats itself every single day, one buffalo at a time, keeping the whole fragile system in balance.